95 Radio, live on Umma Connected on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Zoom. Welcome to Come, Let's Talk with me, Kassim Kayira. Tonight, we are talking about charity. What has charity done for you? What kind of satisfaction? Is there a measurable way that you can weigh or measure the kind of gratification or satisfaction that you get from being charitable, from being, charity? Charity is often done for the sake of Allah, and therefore you might not want to delve into, I did this. But there are times when that can help people. You use it as a way of encouraging people. For example, during the Battle of Tabuk, when the Prophet ﷺ was planning or preparing for the Battle of Tabuk, there was a huge need for resources to go into the war, to plan the war. And the Prophet ﷺ asked Sahabas to contribute. So as the Sahabas brought, people said what they had brought, and it was made public simply to motivate others now to sort of see. Abu Bakr comes and says, I've given this much. Uthman comes and says, I've given half of my wealth. I brought a half of my wealth. Abu Bakr comes and says, I've given all my wealth. And the Prophet ﷺ asks, but what have you left in your home? And he says, I've left there the Prophet, Allah and his messenger. And this actually granted him a siddiq, that he just became that nothing would ever harm him after the charity that he had done in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which was preparing for battle. So there are times when even the things that we have done that are good, if they become motivational for people, we can share these experiences as a way of saying that. But to a person like Imam Kasozi, and I wondered this very much as I was preparing for this show, is there something that probably stands out that you would say this is the one thing that is the best thing that of the things that have been involved in terms of charity? Because as you came on, I was just confirming the one thing that actually stood out, that I think I've been involved in a number of things, but this mosque in Wachisanyi for some reason has given me satisfaction that I cannot compare to anything thus far. There was kind of a peace that came to my heart as I saw these mosques finally taking very fast shape, quick shape, within a week, within 2 weeks, the speed at which the mosque construction is going is just unbelievable. It put me in a place where I felt, Ya Allah, I have arrived now. And that's different. So I'm sure to you on the show tonight, you might have been involved in something charitable, that through that, maybe there is a satisfaction. Can you even compare it to anything? Have you been able to achieve that? Imam Kasozi, allow me to come to you first again, because I'm sure with you as now, you'll open us into the world of charity. Imam, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and thanks for joining us. Hello, Imam, are you there? Hello, Imam.
Yes, I am there, but give me some minutes. I am doing some little thing. I will join you. I am listening.
All right, thank you very much.
I can't talk now.
Okay, fantastic. We'll come back.
Okay.
Let us know when you're ready, please.
I am listening. I will join you later. Let me about 10 minutes or so.
All right, inshallah. Barakallahu fikum. Well, that's well and good. I think let's kick off our talk. Ajat Safina, I know you're in class. Are you able to speak at all, or you're unable to? And we'll respect that if you're still tied up in a way that you can't speak. Let us know, please. But it's about charity tonight. We are talking about charity. How has charity changed you? Have you been involved in something? I remember early in the 90s, no, in the mid to late 90s, in Rwanda, a group of Muslim women started something that was really small, but now it has turned into one of the largest projects, taken over by government and supported to a non-Muslim, yet it was started by Muslims. But Muslim ladies started, their group was called Shakijuru. Shakijuru is look for Jannah, or search for heaven, or search for paradise. They started cooking food on Sundays, and they would go to hospital and feed everyone, regardless of whether they had people looking after them or they didn't have. As a result, many people who did not have people looking after them in the main hospital in Kigali, Sehashka, suddenly found themselves having a meal to expect on a Sunday, a very good meal. This was pilau rice with meat, with juice, and it was coming totally voluntarily from the pockets of these women initially, and then their husbands now saw the good that was in this, and they started participating, availing money, and even transporting them to the hospital to go and distribute food. This has turned into a big project that later on was actually taken on and supported by the First Lady in Rwanda. It's a big project. I was a bit disappointed that I wasn't seeing the Muslim women being at the front of this, yet they had actually started this entire project. But there's something beautiful about charity that makes you feel satisfaction, satisfaction that you cannot put in monetary terms, or even, I don't know whether you can quantify it in terms of weight, but there's a good feeling that comes in your heart resulting from this, situation where you give. When you give someone, there's a kind of happiness that comes with that, and only you, the giver, can understand. But it might actually be that the person the given would even feel it much more, especially when they are doing their gratitude, when they are showing their gratitude, but unable as well to pay back. That can be quite something. Hajat Mariam in Texas, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Yes, Isma, well, as I bring in Hajat Mariam, yes, please, if you can, just play those clips back to back of the mosque, maybe in order, if at all, because like start with the first ones, with the construction starting, and then we end up with where we are at now. But it's been a labor of love for me, and Alhamdulillah, I just feel so happy. I pray Allah accepts this. This was really, really something, and I can talk over it, Isma, as you play it. Don't worry, just go ahead and play. This is in North. You can see the highway. This is one of the latest recent phones. That's the mosque, Alhamdulillah, taking shape. Hajat Mariam, I'll be coming to you just after we play these videos, but I want you to look at the size of that mosque in this small town. It's really been built, with one heart. Someone is really, really put their heart to it. We are getting a house of the Imam, and we are getting shops, 2 shops to support the mosque. In other words, it will be fully fledged, so that you do not have to worry again beyond that. The Imam is catered for with a house there, and then you have shops at the front that will also help on the side so they do not block the mosque. But that is the plot. This was the smaller of the 2 plots on the highway. But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decides that Nalongo's land, the woman who originally provided Muslims with a place to pray, now her plot that she sold me now becomes the mosque area. And I said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does his things the way he wishes. It was just unbelievable because Nalongo's house is just next door there. Now I've been even much more encouraged to go and plead with her to become Muslim before she dies. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept. But that is the mosque now taking shape. This is what I was just saying. These are the little wins. Some of the things look small, but they are big in terms of their significance. Now, because of the shape of the plot, remember it's 36 feet by 100. So 100 is longer, but then 37 is smaller in this side. You'll see that the mosque now, the separation between the ladies' side and the men's side, they're almost on the same line, but then they are separated now by that middle wall. If you see where the mimbar is in the middle, the ladies are to the right using this door where the cameraman is now, and then the men are the other side. So they have 2 entrances, separate entrances. But that is the place now. Toilet went in first. These are some of just the images I just wanted to give you an idea, especially for those, there are people who contributed when we were trying to sort of look at expansion works in this area. Your money didn't go to waste. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept. But it's the little things. So you wonder now for people who have been doing projects, people like Imam Kasus, I said, but many of you, I'm sure, have been involved in one little project, in one big project, where you come from in one way or another. It might be a mosque, it might be a school, it might be a house, it might be something totally different. And that's what we would like to hear tonight. It's not about you praising yourself, but it's just looking in, because sometimes it might be an encouragement. There are people who find it hard to give until they see what giving does. I'll give you an example once the videos, because I do not want to confuse you while the videos are playing. But we had a very interesting thing happening. Our children at home would be seeing us, we receive budgets of weddings from Uganda or from Ugandans here, in the diaspora. And they would see us standing up and saying, we have to contribute this, we have to contribute this. And they would not get it in their heads why we were contributing. Why would you contribute? Why would you go into making a wedding without, being ready to actually have your own money? And we said, no, 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 no. This is a concept. When you get to a wedding, money comes in as as a very necessary thing, but more importantly, it's the support that you get from people feeling good for you, people being a part of you and wanting to be a part of that. The images you can see if you've just joined us is the mosque, and that's the mimbar really sort of taking shape there. These were images from last week, but the speed at which these guys are doing, very professional. You can see a structure like this, it's a town center. It's a town center. It's a small developing town center on the Kampala Gulu Highway, inshallah. You see what that would become, in future, where a Muslim now, whoever prays in that mosque, now whoever contributed to the mosque gets thawab for that. Every person who, became a part of the story, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts from them. And I think it's that kind of satisfaction. And sometimes you don't even know these things. You come on the day of judgment and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells you, you're going here because of ABCD, the ABCD that you don't even remember. That's sometimes the beauty of charity, that you do it and you go away. You do not have a recollection of, what transpired during that. Anyway, it's 50 minutes past 8 o'clock. Isma, you can stop the clips, please, and then let's just hear from the people. Oh, you're still playing? All right. Well, I don't mind. I still enjoy having a look. I can't get tired of this. This has really been part of the highlights for me this year. One of the biggest highlights of my life, not just in this year, but of my life. And it provides a sense of achievement that, I wouldn't really have fathomed or imagined or envisaged. And I say, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. This means the coming Ramadan now, Muslims in this area who can go up to 200, because mainly it's migrant labor. It's people who come in, they work in many of the farms. We have about 6, 7 farms, large farms here. So you have Mukwano, you have General Birunji, the SFC boss. There's Kandiho, who used to be the boss of CMI. There's all, some of the big people with big farms here. They have huge labor force, and a lot of these are surprisingly, surprise, Muslims. So the number sometimes grows up to 200, especially going into Ramadan. Up to 200 people would be able to use this small mosque. So you'll find that after some time, you'll actually need to get a bigger mosque, but this is a mosque now that is adequate for the needs of the place as it is. Thanks very much, Isma. I'd like to cross and go to Hajat Mariam in Texas. Barakallahu fikum, Isma, in the studio there. Hajat Mariam, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Tuliku charity no kuwewayo. You've been very much involved in a lot of charitable activities through QAMS, raising money to build boreholes, to build projects and so on. Yes, so in terms of charity, Ugwe charity, ojitegero cha tichetegeza jodi. Hajat Mariam. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sheikh. Sheikh, ebyo byonna byeyogedde nkola kusiimisa Allah. Kubanga mutugamba nti bw'ozimba wano ku nsi naye akuzimbira olubiri mu jjana. Byenoonya byokka ssebo.
Allahumma amin. Obadde nnyo mu charity ng'olina by'okola ebiyamba ebintu eby'enjawulo. Is there something that stands out? Kubanga yes, tubikola lwa Allah era oba oyagala kufuna mpeera za Allah. Naye waliwo ekintu nga nanga bwe ntuuse n'ensharinga kino sikibadde mu kweraga, era Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala amanyi ekiri mu mutima gwange. But this was like something that was a highlight. Nga bwe nkuwadde history ey'ekifo nga Nabbi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam agenda okumuvinga okugenda e Madiina. Abantu bonna abagaggagagga abaali badde ab'ebitiibwa, they were offering land for the prophet to build a mosque. Naye raba Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bw'akikola, Nabbi agende ngamiya ye n'etuula ew'omusajja omwavu, a poor man's place. is where the camel decides to go and, sit down. The Prophet ﷺ paid for that land and the mosque was constructed there. This was a poor man's place. And the rich men, you can imagine what they were feeling in their hearts, especially when they were thinking they would be hosting the Prophet and the Prophet's mosque, the first mosque in Islam, outside, Mecca, where the Prophet ﷺ had been for nearly 13 years. There are certain things that stand out. Mu charity eyo najja obadde olinayo ekintu ky'owulira nga kistandinga out. Yes, manye ebisinga bya ku mutima obyagaliza Allah, naye oyinza okuba nti waliwo akamu k'owulira nga buli lw'otunulayo owulira nga mu mutima olina bw'ogumira ku ekyo.
Sheikh nedda ndaba sinnawaayo kimala sinnatuuka Abubakar.
Yes, Allahumma.
Abubakar Siddiq.
Naam.
So,
Abubakar tatuukika munnange si mwangu wa kutuukika mu myaka gyaffe gino gye tulinayo bye tugattamu ate n'okuba nti n'ennabbi taliiwo kubanga omuntu eyagabira ku nnabbi nga nnabbi waali amulabako, that was quite something. Naye nedda mbaye njagala tu exploring ku kino ekintu kya charity kyennyini Hajjati Mariam. Gwe, is it something ekijja naturally? Waliwo ekikuteekamu mwanga waliwo ogaa nti gundi yatoola n'empulira nga kimpadde okutoola. Waliwo okuba nti kikulimu obubeezi mu mutima nga kiri inherent.
kirabika kijja naturally naye katugira tugende wa Hajjati Saafina.
Odduka Hajjati Saafina mbadde mulabye ne vallahi ndaba naye omukono guli waggulu. Okay, Hajjati Saafina, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Go ahead, please. Hajjati Saafina, mpulira oyogerera mu nsuwa, meaning you are in class. You are still in class. Your line is not very clear. I don't know whether it's mine. I can't hear you very well.
My earphones.
Ayinza okuba nga alina headphones.
I just have headphones. We can't hear you well.
They're out now.
Yeah, that's
clear.
Okay.
Yes.
Omusomo gwa leero about the topic today is an interesting one. Charity is an inherent something, is something I can say. Trevor, no one can force you to give, but it's something we can learn to do. Naturally, I'm one person who doesn't want to see anyone suffering. That's one. Until you find yourself the moment I know someone has a problem and I feel I can help in any way. And this is something from my childhood. I was that kind of person. And there's someone who I think needs it. You have pocket money and someone doesn't have money. You can buy some stuff, no power. So as I grew up, in fact, religious teaching about it. It doesn't matter. In fact, I don't believe in you only give because you have or want to give.
Yeah.
So the little you have, you give. So as I grew up and more about religion, then I started merging the two. In fact, I could see it. Somehow in a way you don't expect. No I'll give two examples. One example, Kampala waliwo doctor w'abaana. Buli omwana mumanyi oli omwana omulwadde totawaana kasita ogende the doctor, he'll figure out what is wrong and he'll give you exactly what treatment omwana gye yeetaaga, and the kids usually alayisaamu ne babeera bulungi. Naye kati ew'omusawo ono their only problem nti bakulembeza ssente than obujjanjabi. So n'ensanga omuwala omanyi she was youngish, kati ndoza ng'omwami yamupromises ajjamuwa ssente naye nga in fact yamulimba is what I can say. Omwana nga mulwadde naye nga doctor baganye okujjanjaba wadde okola I think they did that initial tests na biki neka to give a kid more treatment nga baagala ssente zaabwe for them to go on with the treatment. So I looked at this situation nempulira ennaku ng'ennuma mutima ko omanyi wherever you see a kid who is sick kikwasa ennaku because these kids are innocent era nogamba Allah alhamdulillah naye obwana buno basaasire so nogamba kati omanyi bakusaba ssente mmeka bweziti then you pay that bill at least basobole okujjanjaba omwana so ngenda nkola so stuff like that kept on going on with me. Nasanga omukyala there's a time my last child yali Caesar kati bagamba nti nokera ku makya otambule ye only treatment for the cesarean kati we nayitanga okutambula nasanga ngawo omukyala ng'atudde naye nga abisse omwana munda ng'omwana akaaba nnyo kati nga mpitawo ne mubuuzaako neyongerawo nentambula nenkomawo n'olula ne mubuuza like every day I could find her kati one time abikkula omwana bane natunira omwana nenjagala okukaaba there and then kati ng'omwana the kid was just hungry ng'omukyala talina mabeere so talina mabeere gayonsa mwana talina ssente z'amata nti asobole ogulira omwana amata either omwana ng'amusibye mu ssuuka for diapers kati nayinanga ew'omwami we najjanga ebintu so nengendawo nenfuna pampa nenfuna sukaali nenfuna obuwunga stuff like that kati nembireeta nembiwa omukyalo oyo naye natuuka eka nenkaaba because omanyi ng'olaba kati okumanya story y'omukyala yali omwami n'amugoba ewaka I think n'amuleeta n'amupangisizaawo n'amudampingaawo so she has no source of income or anything naye kati kyoga nti when you give so I just did it was something small naye I think the following day ng'olaba ofuna ebintu bingi nnyo just out of that one little act.
Yes.
So kyekyo kyembadde ngamba kati
were you quick to connect what you got after?
I was very quick.
Now you are looking back to think through it.
No, nali nkuza kati nga nkitegeera nnyo what charity is about. Kyova nti wadde nga whatever situation I'm in, I always look out nga kati ate ono situation gy'alimu eri worse than mine. So kasita manya seemazeeko nti abaana bange balina what they are going to eat, then I always give. Kati not Kampala, Jinja, waliwo ekirala bakiyita Sunga Kamunaani. Oyita mu bikajja eno oyongere munda ng'agenda ebujiri I think somewhere there. Bantwalayo nga it was a new community y'abasiraamu bapya kati nentu I think it was the holy time baziina kati n'abasiraamu ne basimbira ino okusaala abawala tebalina wadde obukaaya no bategedde butegeezi kintu kimu nti wali okusaala. So I saw that environment nga tuli mu muzikiti gwali gwa ttaka n'essubi waggulu bali mu bigere so they have to walk a distance to go get ofuna amazzi ofuna wuzu kugamba it was a sad situation. So then I nemanya so when I saw what I saw then I came back home then from then on nefuuka my first major project tulabe bwe tujja abasiraamu abo mu ttaka tuzimba omuzikiti tufune borehole tusatingewo a Muslim community. Right now, community against the something you look back at and you feel like yes. Tebanatuuka gye balaga.
Yes.
Nayenga it is something. In fact, they're in my heart all the time. To lwenfunayo akantu. Buli lwenfunayo omuntu gwe nsobodde okwogera naye. Because in the beginning, nga family tenabagaziwa. So nalinga mmanyi when I get my salary like this, ntemako abesunga ne bafuna ko nali ogera n'obagulira engatto n'obagulira ng'ogamba omuntu agenda afuna wuzu ajje ng'atambuza bigere ate agenda akole ki asaale so beetaaga engatto beetaaga biki nga beetaaga from sowaani ey'okuliirako siniya saucepans stuff like that. So when I look at that community it is still needy naye at least I know there's that place nti era we mba nfunye akasente kange gye kalaga nkola ki mba mmanyiyo and I always manyi nti all the good I have today is because of things like that. And this is why I continue doing them.
May Allah accept it.
I think that's what I can say.
No, that's very beautiful. That's really powerful and very personal. And to imagine that, I mean, you travel the world, but one thing still stays in your heart and you feel the power of it. There are certain things, and actually Allah in Surah Al-Kahf, which Allah the Prophet Sallallahu encourages us to recite every Friday. I see Imam Kasozi now has come, so I'll be quick about this. To Subala in but I just something while you are still there. What way that you do? And so in Surah Al-Kahf, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about some children whose they were living in poverty and all of that, but their parents were good people and they had hidden some treasures in the house. But because the house, either collapsed and then they couldn't live in the house, probably they were living with somebody else. Nabi Musa alayhi salam and Khidr come and start rebuilding this house for the sole purpose that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was creating an environment so that these children would have an opportunity to come back and live in their house, to access the treasures that their parents left because they had done good. Now, an event happens in 2002, Rwanda. President Kagame was coming to launch a certain project. It was called African Rural Telecommunications. And he came to launch that. It was a project that his party was partnering with the German government. The Minister of Culture at that time was called Walter Zuber in Germany. And he had come in partnership with Kagame and his party to launch this satellite African rural telecommunications, which was a big thing as mobile phones were only beginning to penetrate the communities. So I go there and I do the emceeing and stuff, and then the president calls me. This is live on TV. Everybody's watching, like the cameras are there. The president calls me, and so when I go, the president is sat in a tent. I can't stand over him. Therefore, Mumpisa is over too. I squat. So I kneel, I put like one knee down and then I'm standing on the other against him. I do like to be able to move. And the president, bends like this and talks to me. So the cameras just come straight and they are pointing at me. And you can imagine what is going through someone's mind, at that time. So the president says, hey, Kassim, where have you been? I've not been seeing. I said, I'm working for an NGO now. And she said, no, but they told me you escaped. You fled the country. I said, Your Excellency, if I'd fled, I wouldn't be here. Long story short, I leave that and he says, okay, that's fine. Mzira yawa kandi mukuvuga tumaze omukoro bamaze okunsasula akasente kange. I'm on my way driving home. We live in a minister's village in Nyarutarama now. It was evolving then as a minister's village there. Driving on my way home, I receive a phone call, and it is someone who is a retired army officer who had started a security company in Rwanda. He calls me and says, Kassim, how are you? I've just seen you on TV. Great job you are doing emceeing there. But he says, I'm calling you for a different reason. Your father, when they were killing Tutsis in 1972, your father put my father in his boot. Yamuteka mu boot na yatenga musajja muwanvu kitabe Nyarwaya yali musajja muwanvu nnyo. He ended up in Uganda police, but he was a very tall guy. Nayaga nti, your dad put my dad into his car boot to help him flee from the killers that had come to kill. This is the introduction of the man who has just called me on the phone. He says, your father helped my father to flee Rwanda at the time that they were killing Tutsis. Your father was doing business between Uganda and Congo and Rwanda. Congo, and he comes back with gold in Uganda. So your father helped my father. What I'm going to tell you therefore is something that is coming from the heart because I feel like I owe you that. So he says, bagenda kukubira, there is a place they are going to offer you. Please do not take it. Erimu fitina. Surprise, surprise. Odomiwa president in the morning calls me. Our firstborn, Makin, was going to the school, Yamchara, Kagame, Green Hills. That's where, so I'm going to drop the boy in the morning. And I'm bumping into brother-in-law or president. He tells me, yeah, yesterday's performance was just fantastic. His Excellency is just interested. He's been wondering where you have been. He wants you to go and become the PR manager for that new company. We know how much you get paid with the Americans. We will pay you. We might not pay you the full amount, but at least you are serving your country. We are giving you a house. We are giving you a car, just like they are giving you in the other job, which was a big ask. Already someone, a Kano, has called me last night, telling me what you're fitting a Korachi again. Yeah. Long story short, I refused, but very politely. I had to find a political way. My wife went home, and I put in an excuse that was too good to not to
refuse.
But something happens on the 26th of December, Boxing Day, 2002. Tuliwaka, our home was invaded.
What?
People came in, whatever, they came straight. Awaka emmere yaffe twagiriranga ku menu e Rwanda. Mande ng'omanyi ky'olya, kati Friday yabeeranga lunaku lwa kapiraawo. Twasadde ejjuma yaffe, evening you come kapiraawo kabeera wali. Naye kapiraawo kana enfumba yaffe ey'ekiddugavu gye wafumbanga kapiraawo n'oteekayo olusiniya n'oteekako amanda kungulu so that rice. Kati omuwala addayo ebweru ogenda okuggyako ku lusiniya amanda ge yataddeko aleeta kapiraawo tulye. It's about 9:30. These people had been sent. This is too much detail that, would be a story for another day, but they had been sent to come and kill me so that I do not get the position. They had not known that, I'd got information.
You had rejected it.
Wait for Nachiganye or something. But this person, they had actually imported someone all the way from Canada, a Rwandan who was in Canada. Nevamuleta are just specifically to take up that position because it was big money. Because you can imagine like MTN has come into the country and it's opening up. What actually, like a company like that would mean. So they were actually willing to kill us. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah yasingo kumanya. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, about a week and a half before, my dad had come from Uganda out of nowhere. Enjara yetu yabanga kukwalatinga, he just appeared. He said, but the kamparo mutima ne gunuma, something doesn't feel right. Tutule tulombe dua. Tulombe dua, kati abasajja abakulukulu abo babeerangamu n'olukubi lw'ekitabo gati azze akutte akagundi akalombeddemu edduwa ampadde akantu aŋŋambye kati kateeke ku mulyango gw'omusinga okukozesa. Ne nga nze ebintu bya shiriki bino nga mpulira neekanze muyinza okuba mu kashirikishiriki mu mutima like I'm not comfortable because he was there nga nti nze sagala kumujeemera naki naye nga mu mutima mpulira like I'm not happy simanyi akantu kano kati bakalombedde edduwa kanaakola kikepupula tulina Mungu. Nkwata akapapula ngateeka ku luggi twali tutakozesa nnyo ate nga yali agaye tuteekewe tukozese nnyo. It was a house that was not fully finished. Ng'erimu ng'olwa flat and wansi obuwoze flat a sitting room, then you have to take 2 steps then nogenda mu rooms ezisigadde. Bw'oyita emanju ebanga bungalow ate no wansi eba flat because you have to take steps. Kati oluggi nga situlukozesa nnyo a main entrance for visitors, but we hardly use it because it's a house we are just doing finishing. Akantu wena kateeka omusajja bwe yajja wallahi yakati kyora nti eshiriki oyinza okutuuka n'osanga Mungu astaghfirullah sayina kintu kyonna mu mutima naye omusajja bwe bajja batukuŋŋaanya ffenna baatwala ne batutuuza wennyini bwe nateeka akapapula batukuŋŋaanyiza nga bagenda tukubira amasasi. Kaakati tulina omusirikale asikaali akuuma awaka nnyumba nga begaye nti it's like a flat kubanga Rwanda is very hilly. Kati ennyumba oba ozimba nnyumba ya step, it looks like a step. Ubeere n'ebbali oba olengera flat naye ng'ate bw'ojjira waggulu it's just a bungalow. Kati asikaali ng'ali miryango eri emiryango gye tutakozesa ajja n'alingiza mu ddirisa n'alengera TV. Tawulira ddoboozi naye alaba bifaananyi, especially time ya Inspector Derrick bw'etandika ng'ali kuli tayagala kuvaako. Agenda okujja okulingiza mu ddirisa nga alaba batutadde wansi, alaba ffenna tutudde wansi, which is abnormal. Kati agenda kulingiza bw'ati ng'alaba ab'emmundu. Ye tebaamulabye kubanga singa baamulaba bwe baali balina okusooka okukwata b'okutta. Kati asooka yeetegereza alaba batutadde wansi, bakwata omukozi, twalina abakozi babiri, omukozi ow'abaana n'omukozi afumba emmere kwoza ngoye. Kati omukozi ow'abaana alina second born family, is just young, 6 months old, ali naye mu kisenge, tebaabalaba n'omwana omukulu makini beebase. Omuwala ono w'emmere ono yali agenza okukima olusiniya okuyiwa amanda gwe bakwata, genda oyite passport za mukama wo, genda oyite endangamuntu. Bwe yagenda ng'akwata passport ng'agikweka ng'avaayo n'endangamuntu gye yaleeta. Kakati ng'ajja bakwasa endangamuntu ng'aleeta ssente zibajje mu banka, gye nga ssente zivaayo nga zize kusasula abakozi bazimba. era sente zonna bakoze ekibaazi tulete ebisumuzo emoroka nga bamala okutwala ebyo byonna byonna. I'm just going in too much detail, but the point was omusajja ono essimu gye yankubira n'ekigambo kye yaŋŋamba nti obulungi kitange bwe yamukolera so many years ago. This is 1972, tuli mu kwogera ku 2002. See how many years it's taken because of his action then, which had no interest nti wamusabye sente okumutolosa, teyamutolosa kati nona awulira ku mutima kimukuteko, because meaning alabika yali privy to a meeting gye baali boogereramu bino. Kakati olina ekintu kyokola Allah n'akikuterekera nekima nti kigenda nekijja n'ojja n'okifunamu so much later without even noticing. Ajati Safina, leka nkwerekereze ndete Imam Kasozi ndaba una amaze okutuuka. Barakallahu fikum. Some of these stories I think are very powerful. They just leave you, with so many questions. Thank you very much. Do not hesitate to come back, because what we are doing is just have a conversation, I think, which should continue as we go ahead. Imam Sebo, salamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Kuraba umaze okutuuka Sebo. You have been involved in a lot of charity. Erinnya lyo liri synonymous with charity that I think no one would mistake that to that. Probably you wouldn't even want that to be the name, but it's difficult. You've done charity for so long. Let me hear, first of all, charity kugwe etegeeza ki?
Okay, Kaka. Charity per se, just on the surface, means to give something voluntarily. So voluntarily.
Yes.
But in terms of religion, like faith, Islam, that is something you give out, of course, voluntarily, with the purpose of pleasing the Almighty. That is charity. What we say that voluntary charitable acts, whether through generosity, love, compassion, ebyo byonna bisobola, or faith. That's what you take to be. In a deeper way, is something that you do out of love, out of compassion, out of faith, or out of humanity, in order to salvage somebody or to save somebody. And it does not necessarily mean that it has to be a physical or a monetary thing. No. It could be like the Prophet ﷺ said that smiling to a brother is charity.
I was just about to say, even a smile is charity. Yes.
A helping hand, whatever. But the essence that you must have at the back is you are doing it not because you want to get any benefit out of it, but you want to support somebody because he or she is in need, okay? And many other things. So that's what I can take as charity.
So can charity be learned, or is it inborn? Is it something you are born with, or it's something that you can learn? Naturally mukodo. Is it possible Allah kuyamba nofuna conversion from bukodo to being charitable?
Yes, you can learn it. You see, environment around you may influence you to do charity. The unfortunate part with those people who just learn it is that they will always pretend and they want to give it publicly.
Yes.
So that they are celebrated. I will give you a very, very funny example. I had somebody who had taken my money for some time. Now I meet him in a group of people. And when he was with these people, he wants to show that he's charitable, as you may say. And when I reached there, he said, "Oh, Imam, salam alaikum salam." Then he he wants to impress upon the other people that he has given. So he gives him, he says, he gets out, he gives me 1 million shillings. To the people, they think it was charity. Then as I move away, he comes back and he whispers to me that I was paying part of your debt. You see, and I have not just given it to you free. But in front of those people now, they may think this man is generous. Of course, with them it is easy because they need 50,000, 20,000, 5,000, 10,000, which he can give without any damn. But now he sees somebody who he thinks also, because he's influential in society, in the community, he wants to do that. That's why many people, you go to them, you have anything, something good you want them to do. Individually, they may not, but organize a function. You will see them come out and say some bigger things. And even finally, even when they don't want to, they are not going to fulfill, but they want the public to understand that is not the charity we are talking about. So charity is something you do out of love, out of compassion, just because you think somebody deserves it.
Yes.
So,
okay, yes, sorry, go ahead.
So sometimes when we are in any drive, there are people who say, those very, very religious people of some sort, or they are pretending to be religious. And when they give something and you are giving out receipts, he says, no, even if you don't give a receipt. I always tell them, no, I know we have a saying that you can give by the right hand without the left knowing. But we also have another way of saying that فَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. Okay? Where we can give so that others can learn from you. So that one becomes some necessity. But I tell people that no, the reason why I want you to give, I'm not giving you this receipt because of yourself. I want you take this receipt, don't throw it away. Have a file where you put your receipts of charity work. Mm-hmm. So many years when you are not there, your grandchild may look at this and say, Kumbe Jaja was very charitable. He used to give. Then he can assist either on our behalf or himself, so that the process continues. But as you have said, I have been in many drives. Community drives, support, and this one has taught me a lesson that there is not, those people who give in charity, you don't lose at all. It may take time for you to receive, but later, I meet several of your OBs, those I told you, and you remember, they begin to remind me of those words I was using to convince them to study sacred education.
Yes.
Because of the benefits they have got now.
Mm-hmm.
Because then, everybody was studying to go to Medina.
Yes.
Actually, Medina, Qatar, Kuwait, because largely not because many wanted education, but they thought there was some maybe it was a form of wealth creation in the making.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes. But now and I used to say that the opportunities may not be there, but when you study and you go to Makerere, and at that time it was only Makerere. At that time it was only Makerere. Yeah. You can go to Makerere, you can go maybe to Chambo, go to Nakawa, and you never know. I have met several people. One of them just as recent as about some few months ago, when we are burying Dr. Sentongo. Mm-hmm. I met a young man. I think, then he tells me that you may not know what you did for me. He was a football player. Yes. And then he reminded that, one day you found us, I was going to play football in the Bank of Uganda van. you ask the coach not to take me, and you asked him a question that I can see, because in that team I had two alumni of mine from Makerere, James Kizito and his brother, they are both playing for Bank of Uganda team. They said, these are graduates, and some of you, now you are taking a senior 4 boy, he's going to miss his exams just because playing football, and then they put me out and you took me back to school. He still remembers that. Why? Because now he's a big CEO working for a UN agency.
Yeah.
And now he begins to make a reflection. So such a charitable scenarios, when you meet them and they begin to come your way, that's when you begin to appreciate why you need to participate in charity. Some of us are also products of charity. If other people had not been charitable to us, maybe we wouldn't be where we are. Some of you who are now attending this and you are listening from diaspora, I want you to look back and see who helped you to get that visa, for example, or to get that ticket, or when you relocated, who received you. And that little thing he did probably helped you by only telling that when you come to a society like this one, you behave like this.
Do. Yes,
so
yes.
That change of that behavior,
yeah.
You are what you are today. You see?
Now, actually, Imam, I think you introduced something very, very important, and probably someone who has been participating in the conversation might have been thinking about charity just in terms of the money. But this last point that you've just touched on, the visa, coming to countries like this, someone who shows you the loops and ways, the hooks, the nooks and crannies of where you know what you can get where, what you can do where. Allahu Akbar. Now, actually, even with me, you have woken up many other memories that are where charitable, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless such people. Now, Imam, having been involved in so many drives, is there something that stands out for you? Because you are one person, to be honest, so many that I'm sure you some of them you don't even remember. But probably there is something that stands out, even out of the very many. Like that mosque stood out for me, even after all these many years, you know, of devotion, of community service and so on. Is there something, probably one or two things that stand out for you that you think, in a charitable sense, these stand in my memory? These are things that cannot go away.
Indeed, they are. And I think some of them, and the purpose why we shall be sharing tomorrow when we shall be, I don't know, it may not be on Zoom, but ex-MUMSA, I don't know that they have organized that. We are going to meet at Professor Abbas's home tomorrow.
I didn't know. Yeah.
In hundreds, I hope we shall be in hundreds.
Yes.
Former Makerere University students, Muslim students, to chart a new way of saying that when we were at the university, when we had just finished, when we are still simple and few, many bigger things were done. What has happened today? That now, with over maybe 10,000 ex-MUMSA,
Yes.
we cannot organize one caravan.
Yes.
We cannot raise 100 people, each of them to give us 1 million a year, and we have 100 million, and we say, you team of MUMSA and other people, go and visit this region and spend there some month, 1 month only, or 3 weeks, mobilizing others to become like you. Okay, what stands out for me is the many students whom I have found on the way, and either through my effort as an individual or through efforts of other people that have been in touch with me, we have been able to raise, and they have come out today, and some of them now we meet them, and they are very, very powerful people. That one stands out for me, and that's why as I speak to you today, I think we have over 50 children now we pay tuition for at various levels. And that one stands out for me because I see many people who have been employed who probably wouldn't have been if it were not for education. That is number one. Then, number two, many of these ones are colleagues and are friends who at some point got terribly sick. And the means of their treatment was not imaginable. But we somehow handled with a few teams, and we see. One of them is Professor Abbas himself. In 1997, I think, either 6, 7, Professor Abbas Chimba gets sick. And treatment, Marago has failed. Medical council has not provided. Makerere University, where he was working, they cannot give him resources. So we sit, I think we're about 6 of us. Myself, the late Honorable Chanjo, the late Honorable Sachikungwe, Honorable Yusuf Nsibambi, Dr. Luwaga. I don't remember the 6th person. And we are saying, what do? We say, no, we take him. And then we connect with Dr. Semakura in South Africa and Dr. Ibrahim Salim. They were there. We connect with them and we say, we are sending you this patient, look for the hospital. And then what surprised us, the hospital where he went for treatment, the person who worked on him becomes Dr. Mahamudu Dafala, our own again.
Yes.
You see, but when Professor Abbas Chimba came back, at that time he had only a master's degree. He comes, he does a PhD, he becomes, he rises to the level of deputy principal of the biggest college of Makerere University, Makerere of this of social sciences and humanities. It's the biggest, to the biggest college in Makerere University. And he rises that. And when I see what Professor Abbas Chimba has done in helping out many people who have come to the university, I sometimes go back and say, thank you, God, who gave us that wisdom to work on this. Of course, with the late Chanjo, I don't know how to explain it, but I know many of you were involved, and other people up to now whom we really stand up for a treatment and support in time of need. That is charity. And those ones stand very, very tall in my life. But lastly, this one now benefits me as the individual.
Yes.
Out of those charitable activities, personal and those and others that I have done on behalf of others asking to do, gives me one of the biggest social capital that I ride on as a person in my life. To the extent that today, as I speak to you, that almost everything I want in my life comes to me free, including the last one 3 weeks ago.
Now you've preempted me, Mom. I wanted to use that as my last one, as my last question to you, because 3 weeks ago, as you mentioned, actually, is it 3 weeks already? People came together to appreciate. Many people appreciated once they have died, but Alhamdulillah, Imam, yours has happened while you are still alive, due to all the charitable work, the commitments, the hours, the endless hours that you put in for people. Staying in, even remember with Sheikh Ismail in Qatar, so many people, Honorable Chanjo, these are people that actually in people's memories you live. But then 3 weeks ago, people decided to put together and they brought you a brand new vehicle, not these Japanese used cars, a brand new vehicle, 0 mileage, that was brought and handed over to you as a thank you, handed to you by the Prince Kassim Kayira there officially. How did that feel, Imam, to be recognized while still alive for work that you have committed on behalf, in the name of Allah, but then getting the appreciation of people? Allah already says in the Quran, if you do something for God, Allah will recognize you and people will recognize you as a result. How did that feel for you?
I know, I don't know how to explain it, but maybe two things out of it. Of course.
So first of all, when did you know about it, Imam? When did you know about it? Was it a surprise? Was it something?
A few minutes.
You know?
Just after I think who had talked, either the MC or the organizing chairman Zaidi, when he had talked. It was a complete surprise. Completely surprise.
Yes.
But it actually humbled me.
Yes.
And somehow I felt, why me? Why me of all people? And I thought sometimes, I still said, if I had been asked to whom to give, I would have nominated another person whom I think does more work than myself, according to me. But I was completely humbled, and it brought back another sense of thinking in me that how do I sustain this? Now, actually, now the real battle is how do I sustain this?
Yes.
Yeah, and you forget those who organized to buy. But I got over 5,000 messages from different people. Even today, when I walk on the road, today I went to a market. I just went to a market to buy I wanted to buy some fresh beans. After greeting people, that was immediately these market women said, hey, Mukama eba dokuwe motoka. Twakulabanga batuwe motoka. That alone humbles.
Yeah.
Humbles me. Somebody, actually, when I'm talking to people, Jonah Badewa mwe kalisi ze ewaseka Kayira.
In Nakasoga, yes.
Yes, I was in Nakasoga itself. Then when I was speaking to people, the children, because they tell these children how they, and I was telling them that you see, when you stick to what you are doing, it may give you something unexpected. Then I told them that the other week, I was given a donation of 100 million. You see, 100 million. And after receiving this donation of 100 million, I have, on top of it, I think now I am almost also coming to almost another 10 million. People are saying fuel. You see, somebody to give you 1 million, 500,000. And some people send it. You don't know them. They just send and it lands on your phone. So that's why I say sometimes when you brought this topic, that's why I told you that we are just looking forward and waiting for it, so that we can express and jointly think, how can we sustain charitable activities for the purposes of helping other people get out of where they are, particularly poverty, ignorance, suffering. You see, so the feeling, as I told you, I am completely humbled. I felt nawulyanga ebiyengeyenge bizeni maso gange nga bagamba nti nga then the words that accompanied it, much as Prince's words, because when he brings in another person, it becomes like negative.
Yeah.
But the word he used in order to describe that condition, and he was saying them over to me alone, becomes a bigger thing that which humbles me further. So that's what I can say, Kassim.
Imam, finally, as I bring in other people to join the conversation, and if you join the conversation while Imam was talking, the program is Come, Let's Talk with me, Kassim Kayira, live on 75W Radio, live on Ummah Connected on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Zoom, 38 minutes past 9 o'clock in the United Kingdom. If you were to advise anyone on charity, Imam, given your many years of experience, given what you've seen, the trials and tribulations that come in the line of, doing community work, charitable work, what sort of advice, one word probably, that you could give to someone who probably would be willing to take the same route of being charitable, especially for those learning to be charitable? There are those who are not born charitable, but they learn along the way. What sort of advice would you have for them?
The first one is ensure that when you are going to give something in charity, you give what you can afford, what is in your means. However little it is, you will never know what impact it creates to people who receive it. I want to give you just one example. In around 1990, either 94 or 95, around that, no, I think 98, a woman comes to me and he finds me seated in the printer, our printer, which I was managing. And she says, my daughter has been admitted at IIU. I don't have tuition. And at that time, the tuition was only 400,000 per term.
Mhm.
This lady now says, I am not, in the future, I can manage, but I am confident. Then I said, unfortunately, I cannot do it all for it, but let me tell you one thing. Go write down 20 friends of yours. When you get 19, I am the 20th. And ask each of us to give you, whoever you are asking, tell him what you want. That I want 20,000 shillings per 3 months to pay tuition for my girl, my daughter. This woman goes and writes, and she got these 20 people. And indeed, we paid the tuition and the girl completed university. That thing, since then, I have used that model for now tens of people, including the recent one we are handling. Recently, I passed one where I was asking for 50,000. I am looking for 100 people to give us 50,000 per 6 months to pay tuition for 2 children of our friends who were killed. The 2 sons of our, one is the son of Bahiga, another is the son of Kassim Kayira, to pay their tuition at the university. I have so far got 38 people, and we have the tuition for first semester we have cleared. But what has now happened? On Thursday, I visited a friend's family. A friend is not here, but I visited their family, me and my children and my wife. I told them I will visit you because they are Banyankore, and I told them I want to eat kalo.
Mm.
Because I know you will prepare it better. And that's how we ended up. Of course, eating kalo was just a joke, but when we are there, when I reached there, the wife calls the husband, who is an academic registrar at the International University in Islamabad, in Bangladesh.
Oh, I know who that is. That is Mariam Nimzima.
They called to talk for some. By the time I left,
Yes.
then I asked him, Omar, because I sent him some boys some 3 years ago. Has this boy finished, Mahal? Said, no, he's in 3rd year doing engineering and electrical something. Then said, oh, Imam, you give me another child if you have. One of these boys now has got a scholarship to go and study engineering.
Allah.
He has been studying education, BSc, mathematics, physics, but now he's actually going in January. They have said, let him come to do engineering.
Yeah.
Because he has the points, but he couldn't pay for engineering in Makampala. So he's now going. So such things are the ones that you can. That's why I advise a person, go out there and either advise people or ask people, when you are giving charity, give what you can afford. Never stretch yourself. When you give what you can afford, it looks little. God puts barakah therein and it grows.
Mm.
That is one advice. The second advice is that as you do this charity work, don't expect to get rewards there and then immediate. Don't. Just do it because you think it is necessary to be done. Then you will get many other advantages out of it. Yesterday, one of my boys here whom we had convinced to stay here. We developed our small cottage, which is now growing. The dry pineapple project. Yesterday, I got somebody says, you see, yeah, he was calling me, but I was in the farm and I did not. I said I was in the farm. Then he said, do you know why I was going? No. Somebody wants somebody who knows to speak Turkish to go and work with the is it trade over commercial attaches.
Yes.
At the embassy. And I wanted to I want to give you the name of your son, but I did not want to give it there before. I told you. When I missed you, I gave it there. Now you see that all that comes your way probably because of some charity work I have done. If you want to enjoy giving charity, just take in mind in one thing that out there, somebody who may be a friend of Allah will say Alhamdulillah, and that Alhamdulillah could be the backbone. Like the story I've told us, you may have survived that killing
Yes.
because of the act of your father, which he had 40 years ago.
Yes.
Because he said 62, this was 2002.
Yes.
That when probably when you were not there, when he did it, you were not there.
I wasn't. Yes.
Assalamu alaikum.
Yes, thank you very much, Imam. Barakallahu fikum. I knew, and yeah, I think, viewers, you'll appreciate. Imam has taken on quite a bit of time, a chunk of time on the program, but I think it was worth it. I'm sure listening in, you definitely see where the journey has come. It's difficult to actually think of Imam Kassos without thinking about charity. That's one thing for sure. The first time I saw him, it was charity. Up to now, this sort of commitment into charity, wallahi, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept and protect his integrity, his ability to deliver. And when the time comes, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take him as a Muslim. Now, I think you can see where we're coming from. 26, or rather 14 minutes to the top of the hour. Very interesting conversation with Imam. You can almost listen till morning, and but everyone has a story, and that's the difference with this program. Everyone will come in and they will tell their story. Look at Hajat Safin and her story. Look at how Imam reflects on my own story, where I survived death, probably through the actions of my father that he had done so many years ago. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes to protect me through that. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept his actions as well. Never lie. Please go ahead. I'm sure having listened to this, you must be, excited to share your own your own story.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good to have you back.
Thank you. Alhamdulillah for this. For me, I just have an experience.
No.
I have 3 people that have inspired me so much.
Amen.
And I know charity doesn't need, people think of charity as money, as in giving money or something, but words only can inspire someone. Words only are charity. Just giving someone advice on how to go about something, it is charity. I just have one person, he passed away a few years ago. But that gentleman, he's dear to us. Amir Fawzi Kahinda, I think you've heard of him, is in Bokoto, a son to the Seki Mwanyis. That gentleman had done a lot of charity. He would give even what he has in his pocket and just stays without. But what caught me so much about him, everybody, when you give out charity, you think Allah is going to reward you immediately and you're going to get something back immediately. But this gentleman didn't do that. His father wanted a school, he put a school. His father told him, you have to teach your kids Islam. He took all his kids through Quran lessons and all that. Most of them have finished. He has so many hafidhs and he has done so much. But this guy is doing Allah's work. He got diabetes and he kept on going and he kept on going. And Allah kept on testing him. This guy even lost a limb. And as he lost a limb, we thought he's going to give up. And one day he called me and he said, Farid, I'm done. But we still need to do this, still so much to do. This as a test from Allah. This is my test from Allah for losing this limb. He thinks I'm going to curse at him. He thinks I'm going to be mad at him. But I'm just grateful to him. Maybe losing this limb is protecting me from something. But people would think I'm doing all this charity. I should be getting something out of it. I should be, getting better, and don't lose my leg. But this gentleman did so much. And even up to his deathbed, he was still calling us and saying, you need to keep going. You need to keep doing charity. You don't need money. You just need to reach out to people. And wallahi, when he was dying, you could see that this guy was appreciated by Allah, because when he was dying, he knew he was dying. And when he was on his deathbed, he told the doctors, remove all these tubes out of me. He was on drips. And he said, remove all these tubes out of me. I need to die when I'm clean. I don't need to disturb my people so that I'm dripping and dripping. You need to take these wires out of me. The doctor said, no, you don't need that. When you need these, you're in hospital. We need to keep this. And he said, please, he lost even his step. I said, please remove these things. And they finally, my mom told them, you know what, my friend wants those things out, take them out. They finally took them out. And a few minutes later, he called his family. It was his brother and his wife there. And he called them and he said, be ready. I want you to be strong. And they didn't know why he's telling them that. And he just closed his eyes and he died. And they looked at him. There's like he's smiling, and the brother said, your husband is dead." And the wife is like, "No, he's smiling. How can you say he's dead?" She could not believe it, but he was just warning them. Allah, told him that, and he was warning his family to be strong, not to cry or do anything. So it's amazing the way you get rewarded through these charities. We take it for granted, but it's so much that you get out of it.
What sort of charity was he involved in? What sort of things was he
in? They involved in helping kids go to school, building mosques, helping widows to to get on their feet. There's so much things that they were doing for for people who are needy and all that.
That's one
But
example.
it's
Said you had two.
yes. And one of the places that he did, it's a school in a mosque and a school in Rufka, and they still yearn for him. They said he used to do this. We never used to, to yearn for something. The kids were living like as if they're wealthy and they would eat meat and eat this. But ever since he died, something has not been done there because he's away and it's too much. But it's something that you feel, even us who are around him would feel that there's something out of it. And he has taught me so much that I don't need to have money or to have something to help out someone, to do charity. It doesn't.
And you can help even without necessarily
in just words. Yes.
Word could be something. Farida, thank you very, very much. Much appreciated. That's quite encouraging. And actually, like I wonder when you involve in charity and, for example, you build schools. I'm sorry, Imam Kasso still comes to mind so much. Just
Yes.
driving around the country and seeing schools. You pass through Rukaru and you say, we were involved in the construction of this. There's a school here, there's a well here, there is, a water point. People are fetching water.
I know.
Inside yourself, I mean, regardless of, you're waiting for Allah's blessings and so on to accept your actions. But inside you, that feeling, that feeling alone, I think is enough. It's not, no amount of money could be worth that kind of feeling that you just have as you drive,
And like
across such places.
yes, like you said, like what happened to you. I live near my brother's construction. I was living there, and I had these workers usually call you because they know I'm his sister, and they usually called me. They would call me to ask for, they have problem. My kid has to go to school. Boss hasn't paid us. Blah blah blah, and you will help them. And one time, they attacked me because they're poor. They're looking for something. They came to my house at night, 3 a.m, and he's holding a pang. He wants money, he wants the phone, he wants everything, the computers and everything. And then he comes in. He waited actually at night. It was 2 a.m. He was in when we were praying Maghrib and Isha. I think around that time, that's when he went in the house. And he described to me that I've been here, your mother was on the phone, your kids, blah, blah. And he has been in the house. But as he came in and he was talking to me what he needs, he wanted money, he wanted the phones, he wanted the computers for the kids. They do online school. And then I told him, what do you want? He said, I only want those things. I said, you can have everything you want. So as we were talking, I tried to get the pang out of him and I threw it under the bed as we were fighting because I knew he was alone and there were people outside. They would hear me scream and they helped me. But unfortunately, I fell and he got back the pang. And as he got back the pang, he said, Hajat, I know you. I know you're a good person. You've helped us so many times. You've helped so many people. I don't want to harm you. I don't want to harm you. I want to leave you in peace. I just need the phone, computer, and money, and I leave. And that's how I was saved, because you know how you fight with those people. They just, they would have killed me, would have put something on me or, hurt me in any way. But just because I was kind to them before and I helped them.
That kindness still didn't stop the computers and phones.
It didn't stop. Yes, it didn't stop that. But I'm saying it saved my life.
Yes. No, it was sadaqah, and indirect sadaqah in that sense.
In that sense.
Yes.
So it doesn't have to happen right away. It's just happening in weird and miraculous ways. It's
That's
amazing.
a very interesting take on that as well. Farida, thank you very much. Barakallahu fikum. Yes, we are listening to this, and if you've just joined us, I'm sure you're actually getting an insight in the stories. Imam Kasozi, very powerful. Safina, powerful. I mean, it's just hearing these stories from ordinary people and the difference that it makes. And just to imagine that, well, when we talk about charity, it's not just about money. It's not the physical things. It might just be a smile, a good word. There are times when someone is depressed, especially in these countries away, in Uganda, in Africa, things like depression, are things that people don't even feel so much. You have lots of social capital places that you can go to and, find solace. In these outside countries, as they say, sometimes you can die just of depression. And sometimes all you need is just someone to listen to you. You don't want them to say anything, but just an ear, a listening ear. That could be the difference between you breaking down and actually feeling better. That is charity. A smile, that is charity. Salam, that is charity. All these are sort of charitable things that we can do in our own ways without necessarily having to, rob the bank. Hajara, I come to you just to hear your charitable story. Remember, everyone in our conversations is an expert. I'm sure at one point, you have been involved in charity, or maybe, you have been the beneficiary of charity. Hajara, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. It's been a while. It's good to have you back. Hello, Hajara, are you there? Hajara? I'll go to you, Jadin. Bwana Jadin, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How is the rain treating you? It's been raining the entire day. I've not seen any dry spell at all.
Oh, it's getting worse, and I just hope we
I
don't end up
met
in
about 4 or 5 people, and all of them were complaining of headaches, and I was having my own terrible headache. I've not had a headache like I had today. I had to come home before the program, had a sleep for 1.5 hours, and probably that was my charity. I didn't know what I was doing. Charity, what does that mean to you, hearing what you've heard from people? I'm sure you will have your own story to tell.
Yes, I can't beat what Imam Kasozi has been narrating.
Imam is in a league of his own, I think.
He's in a league of his own. I think all we should do is just reflect on what he's been telling us. And those are some of the stories that we've always heard as stories of people of those days. You know, our grandparents used to tell us there used to be people who are charitable and kind and all that. But now these are things that are happening in our lifetime. And it's an eye-opener, not just to ourselves, but to our children. Inshallah, they'll take up that mantle. Now, the charitable work that I would like to talk about is in the late 80s, not late 80s, late 90s, I got involved with an international organization. It's an American-based organization. I don't want to mention them. And there were 3 projects that were involved in. Now, I was part of a small group of friends who got together and fronting this organization. And 3 of the charities or the activities that we did in the eastern part of Uganda, Busoga area, up to the Bugiri side, left quite a big mark in me, because I was a humble, at the time, business manager working for a little company. My friends were engineers, there were people holding big jobs in parastatals, but we came together to front these activities. And 3 of those activities stand out really clearly. Now, the first one was vaccination of children. And this organization was fronting a worldwide campaign to eradicate polio from the world. That was their goal. And we got involved in this project, and it took me to places where I would never have set my feet in. It's made me see things which can be depressing. It's made me see the life that ordinary, humble people, you know, the people who move the wheels of the economy of the country, people who are down to earth, but they don't have access to those basic things. And this organization was saying just the 3 drops in the mouth of a child will save not just that child, but will save the economy of the country, because we're not going to have crippled people. And we've gone down to the little islands. Now, when you look at Lake Victoria, there's little islands there, and the people there basically living on fishing, brewing of local waragi, local gin, mukene, and business people coming from the mainland to go and exploit them. But the children are in dire need of basic health needs. You know, malaria kills people at will, mumps, measles, and things like this. And the parents are there just at the mercy of health. And I came to see those conditions. I went to the main prison in Jinja, where women were incarcerated with their children. But even the people who, the prison guards, were in similar conditions. So we wouldn't tell who is the prisoner and who is the prison guard, because everybody was in their state. This was the late 89s, the early 90s, up to 2000. Now, when I look back into those conditions that people were in, and my humble conditions at the time, I said, Alhamdulillah, I don't have any problems. So that was one. The second one was provision of books. Now, the same organization worked with local charities in the UK here, and I think there was one in a place called Gwent. I don't know. I think that's in Wales or something. And they sent us a container load of Encyclopedia Britannicas. Now, Encyclopedia Britannicas at the time were the Googles of this time. You know, people didn't have computers and so on.
Yeah.
And the full container load was entrusted into a small group of we, the friends. And if we didn't have the trust, if we didn't have the respect for ourselves, you can imagine how much a container load of encyclopedias would cost. And the people in the UK wouldn't know that the books have reached their recipients. But wallahi, we gave those books to the local schools. You know, all we asked for them was to contribute for the transport, to transport the books from Ginger to wherever school. And it was a modest amount. I think it was something like 20,000 or something like that. And each school got at least a donation of those books. Again, I looked at myself. My kids were in school at the time, and we didn't touch any of those books because of the trust that the donors had enlisted on us. And again, with that, I said, Alhamdulillah, my conditions, I was needy at the time relative to the people who did made the donation. They couldn't see what we were doing, but I knew Allah was up there watching. And me and my friends and our small group of friends, we made sure that the books reached their destination. And the final one, for those of you who have been to the shores of the River Nile, there's a place they call Bujagali Falls.
Yes.
All those trees that you see that people go and sit and camp under, those again were the hallmarks of that organization. They provided the seedlings and we provided the manpower to go and plant those trees. That was 30, 40 years. They are mature trees. I was there recently and I've seen some of them are big trees and people are enjoying the shade. People are enjoying the scenery. Again, I thank Allah that my hands were in that. Not because I was expecting anything, but now when I walk through the streets of Ginger, people contact me and say, are you still doing that work? Because we stood out at the time. I said, which work are you talking about? And people would refer to either the one that is the vaccination, that's the one which stood out the most. So I don't know how many children we've saved. I don't want to know, but what is important to me and to my friends is that we kept our friendships, we kept the trust, we kept the respect, and we did that piece of work for humanity and for whoever will live to enjoy that. We're not expecting any rewards. If the reward comes, we'll say Alhamdulillah. We may never know what we'll get out of that. But again, it goes to prove what's not to prove, to stress what Imam Kasozi said. Don't expect anything back when you're doing charitable work. If it comes, well. If it doesn't come, look at the smiles on the people that have benefited from that.
And it is with
and that's
Allah
my
ultimately,
experience.
because that's where your purpose is. Your reward
Sorry, I didn't
comes from
catch you.
Allah. Now I'm saying your reward comes from Allah, even if you don't see the results here, the results are with the one for whom you have done it, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
And that should be the aim of charity.
Yes.
Do the little that you can and just get on with what Allah has put for you and let that be yours.
Amen. Thank you very much, Jaden. It's 8 minutes past 10 o'clock. Oh my God, and time can fly when things are getting interesting. Ajatire Mama, I'm coming to you now. Maybe we'll hear from you. And Engineer just joined us pretty late in the conversation. Engineer Makumbi, you missed out on Imam Kasozi's submission and Hajat Safina's and Farida's, and well, you just bumped into Jaden's. Very, very powerful submissions, very personal submissions on charity. Yes, I come to you, was with Hajat Rema. Hajat Rema, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Hajat Rema Mabuya.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Hey, Nyabu, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, we okay, how are you?
Alhamdulillah. We are talking charity, and we've been hearing, people's take on charity, and so far it has become clear charity is not just about the financial aspect. More, even a smile being charity, even a word of advice being charity. Yes, what is charity to you in that perspective? How has charity touched your life?
Hey, Keke, what can I say now? I'm not prepared for this.
Well, this is a conversation we are having, and I'm sure having listened in, you would have something, maybe, you have seen someone maybe who was helped by charity, or you've been helping in charity. Ultimately, you must have been involved in charity at one point or another. Even going back home where you come from, there would be something that is, to do with charity.
Yeah, I try to do anything little wherever I can.
Yeah.
Not
Is there
anything
something
really
that
on a
stands
big.
out? Maybe someone that you help, someone you saw helped by charity. It may not necessarily be you. It may be someone that was saved by charity, and you look at that and you appreciate.
Maybe there's something that I started, I think, with a few of my siblings, and that every Ramadan we had. Before our dad passed away, he had identified a few families around back home in Butaleja.
Yes.
And he always said, oh, these families, he always said to us, if you can help so and so, they are really bad need. I don't know how they're going to go through Ramadan or things like that. So then we just started like, okay, every Ramadan, maybe at the beginning, we do like food parcels to. It's been mainly about 30 families or so around there. Those were the families that were originally identified by our dad. May Allah grant him Janatul Firdaus. And so it just started on a small scale, and something that has now, it has become like something that has to happen every Ramadan. Now we added in Udhuhia.
Yes.
So you find that now it's something you feel you have to do when that time comes. It has just become like part of a routine. But this is something that I don't know. I don't know what to say, KK.
Well, you've just said it. Even with thinking, while you are thinking, you don't know what to say. You've actually said it, and may Allah accept it from you. It starts as a small thing, and then before you know it, it becomes a part of your life. It becomes almost a commitment that you stick to as long as you do it. And now, especially that your dad has gone.
Yeah, now
Um,
that makes me want to do it more. Now that my dad, who
exactly, now he
initially
has
came up with the
resigned.
is no longer here. So I
Let's
feel now
tawab.
I just want to continue doing it.
Yes.
And because I remember when we did it this Ramadans when he wasn't there, the families were really surprised because they thought since our dad has passed, it's not going to happen again. So when we did, they were like, oh, we thought you couldn't remember us because Hajj is not here anymore.
How
So,
did that make you feel, hearing that?
you don't know.
Well, because
It makes
as
me
you,
emotional, to be honest.
no, Hajjat Rehman, as you mentioned that, there is a whole surah in the Quran. I think it is Surah Al-Qalam, if I'm correct. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings in a story. You know, Islam now, the beauty with this, with the final prophet, is that we have culminated. There's nothing that you're going to do that is new, that has never been done before. People before us did everything that now we are just playing into, what everybody else has done. In the Quran,
Mm.
in this particular surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about a man who used to be very charitable. He had in Sharia, in Islam, we are asked when we are paying our zakah, when a person that when you grow some crops, as you are harvesting, you don't even have to take it home. As you are harvesting within the garden itself, remove the sadaqah. Engineer Makumbi, I'll come to you shortly. He'll remove the sadaqah that is meant for the poor before you even take what is meant for you, like to take it home. The sadaqah, the Quran says, the Sharia says, وَأَتُوهَا يَوْمُ حَصَادِهَا. Pay that zakah on the day that you harvest. You don't even allow the harvest to get home and then you say, I'll pay it tomorrow. You give it on the day. So Allah talks about this man in the Quran who used to be very charitable. He followed this rule so much that whenever he was going to harvest, poor people would turn up, they would be by the garden, they would get their share before he takes his share, for which he would take to his family and then sell the other bit. Now, the children were not necessarily happy about this, and they promised themselves that dad is doing this, but once he goes, we shall
That's
show
the end
these
of
people.
it. Yeah.
Yes, so dad, as it happens, dad dies. After dad died, the children came together. Of course, no children can all agree. There's always one who is, either light-hearted or has a different view, but they are always overpowered because the other voices now become too loud. So they say, we are going to stop these people from getting anything because they would come to the land, to the farm. As the harvest was taking place, then they would have their share. These children agree, they sit in a meeting and they agree, we are going to go there very early in the morning before these poor people wake up. We shall go and harvest almost in the, down, as dawn, comes in. And then we shall make sure by the time these poor people turn up, we will have taken
We're
everything,
gone.
nobody will be there. And they agreed that they will wake up very early. They woke up very early as per plan. They started waking up each other in secrecy. They were just literally whispering. And the Quran is going into all of this detail. Beautiful. And Allah, sometimes when He wants to make a point, there are times He allows an entire story to run. Because in the Quran, Allah could just use one ayah and that's it. But sometimes He allows a story to flow so that, like Surah Yusuf being the only surah that Allah starts like from start to finish uninterrupted. Allah has a message He wants to tell and therefore allows the story to flow. So He goes into this story in Surah Al-Qalam and he talks about, how these children wake up, how they wake up in whispers and start waking each other up and they try to go. But they had forgotten one important thing, that they made all these plans. They didn't say, Inshallah. So they wake up in the morning and they wake each other up and they rush quickly to go. What had happened overnight, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had sent angels with the anger that is unbelievable, burnt the entire farm, burnt as in ashes, akaira or ruida, getting there and it's unrecognizable. So they get to the farm because the plan, as to effect the plan, make sure the poor people don't access to this risk, don't
And
get
there's
access to
nothing.
this risk, only to get there. And when they get there, Allah had brought daylight. So it was so clear. It was not any darkness that you would imagine you had got lost. But the moment they got there and they saw with their eyes, then they started actually blaming themselves. They did istighfar, but the one who had spoken against this particular act says, did I not tell you? Had you at least even said, Inshallah, over this act, probably it would have shown that you are putting your commitment to this will in the hands of Allah. And end of the story, they are there regretting, but it is too late. It's all gone. So the fact that these people now thought that by the passing of your father, the good deeds that he used to do would also diminish or stop. The fact that you continue, actually now that becomes even a more motivational factor because you're doing it for Allah's will, but you're also saying in this, Ya Allah, forgive our dad who actually was the foundation of you doing this. So Hajat Rema, you see where you thought you had nothing to say, how all of a sudden it coincides with a big, big story that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referring to in the Quran.
Alhamdulillah.
Barakallahu fikum. This is Come Let's Talk with me, Kassim Kayira. 18 minutes past 10. We have 12 minutes to the end of the show. And I come to you, Engineer Makumbi. We are talking charity. How has charity impacted upon you?
Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thanks for joining us later as you did. But yes, thank you very much for being there always.
Yeah, this one relates to what I was doing when I was working with the local authority. This event happened today, this afternoon. I was walking around Croydon North End Road. I just came from the EE. I was going by the market. Then I said that we used to work together at Croydon. She came laughing, trying to embrace me. I wasn't sure. I knew the girl, but I didn't know her name. She was a lady. Then he said, come here, Mary. He said, she called my name. I said, well, nowadays you have to be very careful with these people. I didn't know that because I left the work at least five years ago. I wasn't sure about her mind. Then she pulled me aside. He said, do you remember me? I said, yeah, I remember you. Do you know what you did for me? I said, no, I don't remember what I did for you. He said, you gave me a piece of advice, which I took it lightly, but he kept on asking me to do it, to join the excess funding into the pension. She joined later. Then I said that at least if you want to live a very comfortable life, you need to put some money aside. You have what they call voluntary contribution. Put your money into that fund. By the time you retire, you'll be making at least be making enough money to make a good living. She said, I hesitated when I talked to my husband. He said, just take his advice. She put in £50 per month. She forgot about it. Then she was sent a letter at her address showing how much money she has made from that. First time she put it in a bin. Then when she came back to office, she was talking about it, that somebody has been sending me a letter from Prudential, which I put up in the bin. But I thought it was just one of these scams. Then when she went home, she put up the paper. When she rang them, I told them that we had made, within 5 years, we had made around £6,000 into the pension fund. She said, when I looked at that one, I said, you kept on asking me, encouraging me to do that. I said, but since you had left, I didn't know that I could get hold of you. But she had my phone. She asked a friend of mine who gave her the phone. Then said, I wanted to ring you, but I don't know what it was. She said that last year she went for Umrah. She was at Kaaba. She said, I don't know when I'll meet Makumbi. At least to thank him for what he has done. Then he said, out of the blue, there came the person I've been looking for to say thank you for the piece of advice that you gave me. When showing that when I'm on my retirement, I'll give you part of that money, at least 10% of what I'll be getting from that. I'll give it to you because you nagged me for everything to join in, put someone aside, advising us the investment plan. Yet the work I was doing was just the pension scheme. I was just doing it in voluntary employer. I had interest in the pension scheme. I was advising people to join in, say, how can you make more money, whereby you could make more return than being cheated by joining these scams. The lady said that when I told my husband, the husband couldn't believe it. He said, out of the blue, I didn't expect to see you. You knew that you had gone back to Africa. Lucky enough, I was in Croydon, she was in Croydon at the same time. Then he said, oh, when I told my friends, all of them have been saying that if Makumbi was around, or Isai was around, would have really advised us. Then they said there was a void when I left. because I used to go around asking, pestering some of them the best way of investing money, what you can make. And then said that when I retire, I will never forget you. And even she kept my phone number. Then I told her, okay, much of the time I'm not here, but if you want to more advice, I gave her the company number. She said, what you've done, I'm coming to Uganda to visit you. And she was very happy. She said, I didn't expect to get that amount of money. What I put in the pension fund, other side investment, brought in so much money. Yet I was just doing that other hobby. I know that it will have an impact on someone who was just, even I don't remember her name, but I know the face because it work on the same floor. So that was part of my voluntary work, and which told me that people have been talking about me in the office, that if he's around, he would give us a hint on how to invest. But they said that when I was around, most of them didn't take care of what I was telling them. But when I left, then they miss it yet. So that's because it was voluntary work. I had to do it on my own.
That's one beauty. That's one beauty with charity. It stays with you. It will follow you however way you look at it, it will come back to you in one way or another.
Imagine the person I haven't met for 5
And
years.
yes,
Me just crashing in the main road, North End Road, at around 1:30. I just going to check an optician. When I came out of that, then we bumped into me out of the blue. I didn't expect
Hakaba dua getting answered on a day that we are actually even doing the program. How did that make you feel?
I've thought when I was working around, I saw that my work was not appreciated. But what told
No,
me,
I mean as in today,
I felt
as in today,
very happy.
how-
At least what the advisor told her, much of the work was when we were doing the pension fund. I put in extra work to more much about the investment, going for trainings to see what is in and out, how can advise people who are lay into investment, into the shares and the rest. But I did as a voluntary work. But since I left, people are talking about me. Yet I didn't know that I'll leave an effect on the ground, on the floor where I worked.
Barakallah fikum, Engineer Isa Makum. Never short of stories. Now we are left with only 5 minutes. I'll try to use 3 of those minutes to finish a story that started on. Someone was pleading so much. I don't know whether that was Usama or Habiba on Umma Connected. I'll just complete that for those who missed, who were not around. It was a story that again, good just follows you, like Isa Makum. We followed him today, 5 years later, to see something that he had worked on a long time. So what happened is while we were in the house and we had been attacked, the soldiers came into the house. They were two. They pushed us to the very corner where Dad had insisted, use the door that he used the most, put this door there. And while we are there, the girl is sent to the bedroom to get my passport. She sees my passport, hides it under the bed, and then just picks out the Ndangamuntu and brings it out, gives it to the guys. Any money, there was 10,000, I think, Rwandan francs, which was in the pocket, and she brings it, gives it to them, car keys, and then now they decided because they had got what they had got, they were expecting probably more money, but they had come on a mission to actually exterminate me, and it wouldn't be enough to just kill me because then they wanted to kill all of us. So they put all of us together, they bundled us together. So that was me, my wife, um, the maid, um, my wife's sister, Latifa, was there, my cousin, Sulaiman Bin. I think that's about it. We're about 5 or 6 people. We're all bundled together. The guys had actually three magazines on their AK-47s. Each one had 3 magazines, 3 full magazines, and then they had grenades. So I think he wanted to use the grenade to kill us because with the grenade, it would kill us all at once instead of making too much noise. This was our house. Immediately behind us was Uganda's ambassador to Ethiopia. 2 houses, Minister of Finance, the Prime Minister is down. And then in front, 2 houses, like one house, and then the other house is the Speaker of Parliament. this is like the area that we lived in. You can see it was kind of ministerial by every sense, by every definition. So, and these were all areas that had soldiers guarding this place. But these soldiers had managed even to come in, and they were not even scared. Our perimeter wall was still being built. So we had built the lower bit, the upper bit hadn't been built, and that's where they came through, near the Rwandan ambassador to Ethiopia's house at the time. So the Askari now looking through the window, because he would normally come to peep and watch TV without any sound, but he would just look at the images, Inspector Derrick especially. When he saw that we had been put down, he looked and he saw the guys with the guns. He knew there was trouble. So he tiptoes slowly and goes to the neighbors and raises an alarm. Mudutabare, 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 like help us, help us, help us. And so the shouting starts outside. A bullet is fired outside. So someone fires a bullet. I think it was from the speaker's house. Someone fires a bullet in space. That, of course, now created commotion to these guys. So one of the soldiers says, if you move, I'm just going to kill all of you. And we could see one of the guns had been cocked. So this guy goes out and says, I'll go to check what is happening. Nobody should move. He goes out. We are left with the one who was just holding the grenade, just waiting to open it and throw it and probably run and leave us. The alarms, the nduru continue outside. So there's a lot of so as the noises continue so much, the other soldier who went to check didn't come back. Now this one starts becoming suspicious as well. That doesn't know, worried about what is going on, whether the other soldier had been captured by people or so on. So he also wants to sort of check, but now he gets ready to pull out his grenade now to throw it before he goes. But the noises now get much closer and much louder. So he goes to the door and also says, if anyone moves. I think he wanted to be where he was by the door, open the stick grenade, throw it at us, and then just run out. But then we had one of the maids who was looking after kids, who was in the room sleeping with Fami, the second born, who was just 6 months old then. This girl, they had not seen her. So she comes out of the blue. The man is checking outside before he opens his grenade. The doors in Rwanda are made out of drums, these drums. So it's a very heavy door. It's a metal, but it's heavy metal, not these light Ugandan light doors. So when the door actually locks, because it has that hinge on it, when it goes in, it just locks. It kicks and locks. So you'd have to open again to sort of get it open. This young girl, she was about 15, 16. She comes out and just pushes the door. The door hits the man. Man falls out with his grenade. And then the door automatically locks itself. As clicks, it just locks itself. You'd have to open from inside. And that's when we wake up as well and we start adding our own nduru to that. This man runs away slowly and just walks away. Long story short, oh my God, it's already 31 minutes. And I promise I had 3 minutes to that. We survived that. The people who came with the Anduru, the neighbors and so on who were living around are the ones who came and ate our pirao for Friday. Narongo was holding Quran. That's the one thing I remember. And what she was reciting, I don't know what language. I'm very sure it wasn't Arabic, neither was it English. Allahu A'lam. But she was just with the incantation holding the Quran and we were ready to die. But I'd finished praying Isha, and that's one thing that actually gave me reassurance. I'd finished praying Isha, so I was saying that the last prayer of the day, I've finished Friday. We never get to eat, the discomfort that followed. But then days later, we come to find out one of the army officers, senior army officers, had actually sent these guys to come and finish me because the brother had already been bought a ticket to come from Canada to come and take the place that I was supposed to have taken. A place that he took, but I think he didn't last even a year. He was sacked for incompetence. But that was a story for another day. But Alhamdulillah, the man who had called me, I feel like I owe my life to him, to Allah, of course, but I felt like I owed my life to him in a lot of ways, thanking Allah now for giving us another chance into life. But the person had called to say, because of what your father did, I felt like I owe you this. And it's amazing. You know, looking back to that, you just think the actions that you do now, the things that you do now might not necessarily benefit you, but they may benefit your own children or even grandchildren in years to come just because of an act that you did today. So charity continues. Charity should be enhanced. Charity comes in so many forms. It may be financial, it may be physical, where you go to help out. It may be even a word of advice or even a smile to those who cannot afford much. So definitely, I thank you very much for sharing your stories. This has been Come Let's Talk with me, Kassim Kayira. Another very beautiful and insightful night. Hope to see you next week, inshallah, Tuesday, with another interesting program. Just like I suggested, please, if you think there is a topic that you'd like us to discuss, please flag it earlier on so that we can research it and be ready to talk about it. It would be very interesting, especially when I get topic suggestions from you, the people that make this program what it is. I thank you very much for keeping your Tuesday night with us. And I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants us the life and health to meet next week in another interesting episode. If you miss any of these programs, remember you can catch up. Just go to youtube.com and then start searching for Come Let's Talk with Kassim Kayira or Ummah Connected, and there you'll be able to see Come Let's Talk. Or go to facebook.com/75W Radio. You'll be able to, well, just scroll down and you'll see Come Let's Talk with Kassim Kayira, and you can watch other programs that come from us here. From me and from the team, it's a very good night, and thank you very much. Hope to see you next Tuesday. Thank you for your time. Barakallahu fikum. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.